The underwater village was breathtaking. Decorated in breathtaking coral reefs, there were colorful fish and some majestic blue whales swimming among it, and various colorful fish here and there with living reefs. There lay the remnants of buildings everywhere. You see, in the past, the people of Narrated used to live underwater. This was their home. With years of evolution and adaptations, they began living in land, as they still remained deeply connected to the water. The mermaids were a species that eventually grew fins after previous generations and remained underwater, riding sharks and whales as a means of transportation. The ruins were a vast spread of architecture the size of a long-lost island, so it was a delightful swim to view the long-lost artifacts and designs and buildings. There was so much to see. They anchored in different spots, depending on what area they wanted to explore each time. Amethistia swam towards a large building heading to an enormous arched entranceway engraved with various symbols she did not recognize. A sacred feeling of importance captivated her, grounding her in the most pleasant way, making her inquisitive. She took a few steps into the building entrance, into slight darkness, entering a hall. She swam down the hall until she reached an open, circular room. Entering the room across from her were 4 stone slab doors that were open. Perhaps back then they all remained closed, but now, no longer alive, they were open. She looked at all 4, wondering which one she should explore first. Her attention then fell upon the engraved markings on the floor. There was a big line going out towards the left, and then another towards the right, almost like the letter V. There were various designs in the middle of it and outside of the V on the left and right. An overwhelming, beautiful feeling of peace washed through her entire being. She sat down upon the bottom floor for minutes, looking at the details of all the intricate designs. In her relaxed state, she closed her eyes to enjoy the moment, and suddenly a spark of light flashed by, causing her to open her eyes. Tranquilly, she looked around curiously, then closed her eyes once again. She then saw a visual of a boat structure making circles on the water. It was unlike any type of boat she knew existed. Looking up now upon the boat, seeing it from below as it floated on the surface, she saw someone in the boat. Suddenly, the person dove into the water with his hands outstretched gracefully in front of him. It was a man with long blonde hair. He dove straight to her left as he swam by her, going deeper and deeper, until something stopped him. A cloud of sand making the water murky around him, not visible to see, slowly covering the terrain more and more. An uncomfortable feeling filled Amethistia and she no longer saw anything else. She opened her eyes and swam to the second door, not knowing why she chose this one, and walked through into another large room. A little bit to the left of the room was a beautiful tree. A tree that had made its life growing underwater. It was average in size, and its branches were adorned with various beads and what looked like ornaments left from the people that once existed there. The beads were various colors and sizes, and if you looked closely, you could see that they were all handmade, varying in texture, placed upon different colored strings and placed in such a way to withstand the element of time. It was so elegant, Amethistia swam around it, examining its details. What a special tree, she thought to herself. There was nothing else in the room other than the tree and carvings on the floor and on the surrounding walls. She sat down under the tree, leaning up against it, and noticed the tree was emitting a certain vibrational sound throughout the room. It seemed that the room was designed in such a way where the placing of the tree, placed in that specific spot, allowed the movement of the branches with the ornaments to create a certain melody that was very calming and soothing. Amethistia felt herself drifting deeper and deeper into a mystical place inside herself. She closed her eyes, drifting, and saw the blonde-haired man once again, wearing a long necklace with a medallion around his neck, glowing as he held it in his hands. With his eyes closed, he was breathing deeply. He was in the same room that she was in now. He swam around the tree several times, then his body shrank and disappeared into the medallion, which then appeared, displaying hanging on the tree. Amethistia opened her eyes and looked at the tree and saw the medallion he was wearing and became part of, wrapped around the tree. That moment, she felt it was time to depart, so she made her way out of the room and entered into the first door. As she walked in, she experienced something she did not expect. There were gold sparkles floating around everywhere. She smiled with a tingling, exciting feeling inside her and looked to her left, then to her right, up and down, and she could not seem to find a place where they were coming from. Do they have to come from someplace specific? She thought. No, she answered to herself and laughed. But then, slightly to her right, she noticed the tiniest small hole in between the rocks. She swam over, and that is where they were coming in through. It still made no sense, yet it didn't matter. She felt gravitated to sit on the ground by this spot, but this time she lay down on her belly by the hole, placing her hands under her head, leaning on her cheek, facing the entire room from the right. She then closed her eyes, and the man appeared again before her in ethereal form, with his blue piercing eyes shining brightly as his blonde hair waved in the water's current. around his belly button. He had a beautiful tattoo with points around it like a star, and above it was a small circle with different tribal designs, all in a light blue color. Our attention stayed fixated on his tattoo. There was something about it, something magical. She couldn't take her eyes off of it. Then, her belly button started to feel warm. She unzipped her water outfit to look at her belly. It was glowing with a pulsating light blue light. Then, it stopped and revealed the same design now upon her belly. She wiped her hand over her belly, rubbing it several times to see if it would come off, but it still remained. It was not like a tattoo in the sense of ink. It did not look that way, but it was in the sense that it was a permanent design on her body. With her hands, she continued examining the design upon her belly for a few moments, wondering what it meant. But then she realized it felt natural and a part of her, and she no longer questioned its presence upon her body. I guess one day I will find out what it means, or perhaps not, she thought as she zipped back up her water suit. When she looked up, she could still see the man with his hair waving with the current. He was looking straight ahead, as if focused on something in particular. Then, in a few minutes' time, he vanished.